Trust in Education has built the school in Farza for girls. You've provided teachers' salaries. The girls have access when many of them didn't before. Why is that so important?
Now, before the Taliban took over, there was girls' schools, but only for a limited number of girls living close by in the cities. But once you go like 5-10 miles out of the big cities, they don't have access to any education, because for them to go to a girls' school, they have to walk miles. And a lot of families, they don't allow the kids to go walk from one village to another village to go to school. So that's why they didn't have the access to education. Even now, when last time Bud and I we were in Kabul, I think a year ago or two, we had a meeting with the Minister of Education, or the second guy, I think, the Deputy Minister. He said right now they have about 16,000 schools all over the country, but half of them, they don't have any buildings or classrooms or anything. The kids sit on the floor under the trees. So what we do, like for example, you mentioned the school in Farza, that was a government school, but the kids, they used to sit in the tent under the trees on the dirt. So now when we build a school for them, they have access to a nice building. They've got nice desks and chairs and good teachers, and we are providing them with computer class now. Because these are the future mothers of Afghanistan. Both Bhatt and I, we believe the women in Afghanistan, one day they're going to change that country, not the men.
Absolutely. Well, for me, the challenge is, on one level, just getting women out of the house. The further away you get from the city, the more difficult it is for women to get out of the house. And education is one way to get them out. Another thing is that it makes them happier. If you can't read and you can't write, you can't see beyond your neighborhood. But if you can read and write, you can learn about the rest of the world even if you can't travel there. If you can write, ultimately someday you can communicate with others without having to see them. There's a big disparity in terms of the treatment of men and women in Afghanistan, as many people know. The impression is that the majority of Afghanistan doesn't want to educate their girls, and it's not true. 70% of Afghans want to educate their girls. And education, if you talk to anybody working in humanitarian aid or anything else, is a solution to almost everything. And it's not just about educating girls, educating boys. It's much more likely that an educated man is going to recognize the rights of girls than an uneducated man. The greatest challenge of all is getting them out of the house and not having them be forced to marry. If they're married, they don't get to go to school anymore. That's the end of their education. So that has become our biggest challenge and in many ways our greatest accomplishment. That school in Farza that Nabi talked about, once that school was built, the enrollment went from 250 girls to 370 in 3 months. Just having nice facilities enabled another 120 girls to be able to have access to an education.